Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next week to 10 days. It's going to take us to the 9th of March, so we're going well into the new month with this update. In a very unsettled mode of weather at the moment. It's going to be staying with us, I think, over the next week to 10 days. It's going to be quite an unsettled start to March, so we can expect low pressure being in control, bringing showers along with spells of rain. I'll show you all the detail in a second. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the page. Have a browse through the widgets and click through links. You can help us pay for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads to both pages, which own content when you watch them. They close back up again. It does help to pay for gas. It's a lively afternoon, so just starting with a radar picture at the weather outlook. We've got some big downpours across the country this afternoon. Bright colours mixed in, indicating heavy rain, torrential rain in places. And not just rain, there's hail mixed in with some of these showers, even thunder and lightning and sleet and snow, so everything as well as a kitchen sink being thrown in today with these showers. We can see on the lightning detector that we have got some lightning flashes down across northern France. Nothing at the moment flashing across England and Wales, but I think there could be some flashes of lightning through the course of this afternoon in some of those heavier downpours. And unusually, perhaps a little bit unusually, there could be some winteriness coming down to fairly lowish levels actually across parts of northern England, particularly through the course of this afternoon. We've got quite high levels of Cape today. This is the Cape lifted index chart. The brighter the colours, the greater the Cape, the greater chance of thunder and lightning. So we've got these green colours here, particularly across England and Wales today, which is fairly high Cape for the time of year. I mean, we are still in winter. It wouldn't be anything significant in spring or summer, but we're still in winter. So to get Cape in winter is quite unusual, and that's the reason that we have got those flashes of lightning, some of these heavier showers, or we could have those flashes of lightning, some of those heavier showers through the course of afternoon. You'll be seeing a lot more of these charts as we move through into the spring and the summer. We always look at the Cape and lifted to see where we have the greatest risk of thunderstorms as we get through into the summer. So when we do storm watch in the summer, you'll be seeing these charts quite a lot. Right, let's have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days then. We've got the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts here. The ECMWF is on the top. The GFS, which we'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure and low pressure being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and red extrapolates to high pressure. So this is the ECMWF mean flow chart for the next week to 10 days. It shows that we've got a trough of low pressure through the early part of March in the Atlantic. Quite a strong jet stream indicated by the tight lines going across the Atlantic there. And we have got some northern blocking as well. We're not all that far away from being in quite a cold pattern with this, but as has been the case throughout winter, just not lining up quite right. You need to take this trough and centre it more here across Central Europe to open the door to the northerly wind. So although we have got blocking there being indicated on the ECMWF, it isn't really in a position to be producing much in the way of cold weather. However, the northern parts of the country on the northern side of these areas of low pressure will be colder. The GFS is very similar, so again we see quite a strong sort of blocking signal around Greenland, but we've also got this trough in the Atlantic with a fairly strong jet stream. The jet stream is doing something like that. There's a ridge down across Spain and Portugal as well. So it all looks rather unsettled, although there is quite a lot of high pressure to the north, again it's not lining up in a position to be producing much in the way of cold weather. However, there could be some colder conditions, sort of interludes into the far north of Scotland, but overall this doesn't look like a classic cold pattern that is setting up. Looks very unsettled though, with an Atlantic driven pattern. These are the ECMWF ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. So getting a little bit cooler than average for much of this week, actually. A little bit of a tick up there. But overall, a little bit under par in terms of the upper air temperatures anyway. And that will be reflected, I think, on the surface to some degree as well. So getting into a second week of March, which is this period just here, we do find that the ensembles are going a little bit milder than average. Although again, there is a lot of scatter in there, some quite cold members and also some very mild members of the ensemble as well. What we can say is that there's a lot of rainfall coming up, so plenty of rainfall spikes being indicated there, starting with today's sort of heavy showers and thunderstorms going off in towards the early part of March. Plenty of rain coming up. It is going to be a very unsettled spell that's on the way. Temperature anomalies are coming out actually a little bit colder than average from the 27th of February through to the 7th of March, so a little bit on the cooler than average side across the British Isles. We're one of the coldest places in Europe for the coming week. Spain and Portugal also looking a little bit colder than average, but warmth is over in the east of Europe, which is a bit of a flip on what we've seen through most of this winter. Precipitation shows very unsettled scene across the west of Europe, particularly so for France, but also at times extending into the UK as well. The driest weather is over in the east and southeast of Europe, where those milder temperatures are. So this is the GFS of Friday. Low pressure's driving in off the Atlantic. Looks pretty wet and windy there, and it's staying really unsettled into the weekend, with more areas of low pressure moving in from the west and southwest, bringing spells of really quite heavy rain. The early part of next week, this is Monday 6th of March, so it shows again high pressure is a long way away from us. It's up over Scandinavia, not really able to do much for us. We're under these areas of low pressure that are coming in from off the Atlantic, keeping things very unsettled. And through next week, the signal is to keep it unsettled, though later on, this is day 10, Thursday 9th of March, where we might just be starting to get a little bit of a ridge going down to the south. But if we was to roll on, actually, we find that doesn't last very long at all, and by Saturday the 11th, look at this, low pressure's coming back in off the Atlantic, keeping things very unsettled and changeable, and eventually, by the middle part of March, this is Monday 13th, a couple of weeks away, we are pulling down quite a cold northerly northeasterly wind there around the middle part of the month. I'm not sure about that at all, but the signal is very much to be unsettled through the early part of March and running up towards the middle part of the month. ECWF very similar, so low pressure's close to the country on Friday and then really unsettled into the weekend. This is a deep area of low pressure down to the southwest of us, throwing up bands of rain, quite heavy bouts of rain coming up with that. We move through into next week and we find low pressure is still around the country, bringing more showers, possibly longer spells of rain. Notice we have got high pressure up to our north and to our northeast, but the way it's all lining up is that we're still keeping the flow more or less coming in off the Atlantic, so it's still fairly mild, although for the far north of the country, a little bit more of an easterly influence there. So on the northern side of these areas of low pressure, there will remain a risk of some wintry conditions at times, central northern parts of Scotland, but most places just having heavy rain. We go through next week and it stays unsettled, so this takes us up to day 10, which is Thursday the 9th of March, when it is still looking very unsettled. Still, we've got high pressure to our north and to the east of the country as well, with low pressure out to the west. I suspect all this ridging is really doing is sort of blocking the weather fronts coming in off the Atlantic. So some places could be very wet with that. But of course, if you're closer to that ridge, then it can be fairly dry. But the signal is really for unsettled weather through the early part of March. That's what we've got to contend with. A very dry winter, so at some point you would expect a protracted spell of quite wet weather. Looks like that's what we've got coming up as we're going into the first half of March, the early stages of March, particularly looking very unsettled. Temperatures in the south will probably be fairly mildish at times, but in the north will be a little bit colder, and there will be the potential on the northern edge of these weather fronts and areas of low pressure to be producing some snow at times. Possibly by the middle of March, could be looking at something more generally colder, but that's a very long way off, and I think we're best to just focus on the unsettled weather at the moment. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.